Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts with something kind of cool, a 1951 Kaiser two-door sedan. Now you got to remember something that after World War II, it was sort of the wild, wild west. There was a whole crop of independent car manufacturers who popped up and disappeared almost as quickly. Tucker and of course Kaiser Fraser. Kaiser arrived on the scene building cars in 1947 through 1955, a very brief spell, but they made some really interesting cars. Now of course Henry J. Kaiser made his first millions paving Southern California in the 1930s and of course helped to win World War II by building victory ships that couldn't be sunk as quickly as Hitler could build submarines, so the victory ships from Henry J. Kaiser's shipyards really helped to win World War II. But again, for 1947, Henry J. Kaiser and a fellow named Fraser got together and built cars. This one here is a second generation, 1951, and again, something new for 51 was this thing right here, a very distinctive piece of window trim. This is called the Darrin Dip. Notice how the window's not horizontal, it actually has a little dip, a very tasteful, gentle curve. Now, Howard Dutch Darrin was the stylist who was hired by Kaiser to redesign these cars, and this is called the Darrin Dip, and it was a trademark that turned up on many places throughout these cars. Look down here, tail light has a little dip right there, again the Darrin Dip. And we'll get to the front of this thing in a couple seconds and see it again up there. Now something also new on these cars, 1951, these introduced something called the tuck-away spare tire well. Seems like common sense, but most American cars at this point in time, the spare tire sat vertically and a little bit of a trough. Well, what Kaiser said, why don't we put the tire under the trunk floor and get rid of the spare tire and basically increase the amount of room. And here we have it here. The tuck-away spare tire is what this was called and marketed as. But again, this is an independent, didn't have the money of General Motors or Ford or even Chrysler to make these things. So these were kind of made on a shoestring. Things like exposed hinges for the deck lid right here, something you would not see on a General Motors car after the 1920s, but here it is here. Chrome-plated stuff, die-cast metal, but again, the trunk would open and close with these exposed hinges. And again, the quarter panels on this are many pieces. See this little zigzag line right here? That is factory-applied lead. Somebody at the Willow Run factory certainly applied these to the welds that would have otherwise welded these components together. So again, under the paint, you don't see it, but that's lead filler right there to help the car have a one-piece look. And speaking of one-piece look, the 1947 Kaiser and Fraser were Detroit's first envelope cars without the bolt-on fenders, the pontoon styling. So a lot of folks think the 49 Ford was first with that. No, Kaiser Fraser in 47 was first. But again, 1951, new design, we see it here. Now the weird thing about this one, it's a two-door sedan right there. Now, if you look at this enough, you'll see that the roof skin and the body itself could be a four-door. In fact, just add a cut line here and you got a four-door. Well, you know, again, they were on a budget, 118-inch wheelbase, same roof stamping, same front door, but if you wanted a two-door, well, they just kind of have a one-piece rear quarter panel, minimal investment, but that's how the same basic parts could be made to serve several purposes for a small car maker like Kaiser. Inside this one, we can see this has looks like an automatic. Yeah, here is the shifter right here. This would have been a Hydromatic supplied by General Motors. And again, that was something Kaiser did not begin to have the money to make their own transmission, and that was a $147 upcharge for that automatic. Now up at the front of this one, we see it again. There's sort of a little thing here where the windshield would meet right here. The Darrin Dip in effect here. And again, this would have had a windshield divider, and the glass is still here, the two-piece front windshield right here. And again, one-piece wraparound windshields were all the rage, but here's half of that. And one of the problems with old glass, it delaminates. So you could use this as a template, but you wouldn't want to use this on a restoration because of that delamination. But again, the Darrin Dip. Also, we see here a padded dashboard. Look at this. It's dried up now, but this was once considered a safety feature. This vinyl on top of sort of a foam rubber behind it, which would have been softer than the steel as you smacked your head against it when you came to a stop against a tree. So automotive safety has come a long way since 1951. We can see here the manual steering box right here, the gas pedal linkage in this area right here, speedometer cable probably right here, maybe the choke cable here, all the ancillaries and bits and pieces, arteries and stuff hanging off the firewall. Now getting back to Howard Dutch Darrin, he's probably best known for something that appeared in 1951, and that would have been this little baby right here. That is the Kaiser Darren 161. That referred to the cubic inches of the engine. And you can see the grille has that Dutch dip at the very bottom. Someone said it looks like it's blowing you a kiss. But again, this is based on the Henry J frame, fiberglass body, and believe it or not, this car was introduced before the Corvette. So technically, this was America's first mass-produced or semi-mass-produced fiberglass two-seat sports car. But the reality is, Corvette deliveries actually happened before these things. We can see here the words say, the Kaiser sports car is really that, except in the true competition sense. As a boulevard sports car, it is ideal. As a competition car, it would probably be beaten by a 745cc two-cylinder Dyna Panhard. But again, the Kaiser Darren will move out briskly, set a difficult overall pace for cars which are attempting to keep up. Kaiser Darren body is set on the Henry J 100-inch wheelbase chassis. So that's the story of these things. These are actually pretty collectible. The party trick on these things is the door slides into the front fender. It doesn't come out, it goes right in. So it was a pretty advanced car. About 500 of these things were built in about a 5-year production run. Now getting back to the car we're looking at now, here is the two-door sedan, the Virginian. That's the upper scale one right there. But we can see right there, these could be dressed out quite beautifully. But again, that roof, that body was smaller and tighter. On the bottom left, there's the four-door. And again, with the circle, that's the Darrin Dip up front with that little trademark. It doesn't do anything at all, but it looks fantastic. And again, this is a 1952 catalog. So at this point in time, the two-piece windshield became a one-piecer. And beyond that, we go to... what's a Henry J? Oh, there it is, that thing on the bottom right. Henry J. Kaiser. Well, they named this little compact car after him. This went after the Rambler American, and this basically was only around for a few years. These make great gassers. These did not get the Darrin Dip, but other areas of the styling were similar to the smaller ones, the hips seen here. But again, this is the Henry J right here. If you ever wonder what's a Henry J, that's it. And believe it or not, the Kaiser Darren 161 was based on one of these things, a 100-inch wheelbase. So again, 1952 fax book, Popular Mechanics right there. It's funny, years later in 1995 or so, I was a ghostwriter for the Popular Mechanics New Car Buyer's Guide. Cliff Gromer was doing work for Joe Oldham. Cliff Gromer said, hey Steve, would you be willing to do some of these things? Yeah, sure, Cliff. So I did some ghostwriting, and I actually was part of this. But again, back in 52, here is the Popular Mechanics fact book for 52 model vehicles. So anyway, this is, not going to move anywhere from this location. This is body on frame, but something kind of weird in this one is the Radio Delete plate. If we take a peek there, in the center of the dashboard, that chrome thing that has the word Kaiser stamped into it, that is a Radio Delete plate. So in other words, yeah, you had to pay extra money to pick up Tommy Dorsey and the big band era music of 1951 through an AM radio. If you didn't pay the extra money, that's the plate you got. So it's interesting to note that the dashboard was stamped with a hole for a radio receiver, but if you didn't pay the money, you got that plate in front of it. So that's the story of this 1951 two-door, pretty rare bird, Kaiser. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the SteamMags YouTube channel. Give us a like, and if you want to ring the bell, you'll get an update as soon as we have a new video, which is every single day. And if you like these videos, we have like 350 of them on our channel playlist you can watch right now. Until tomorrow morning, we'll see you.